mask, like for real life reasons, and I've tried it on a bunch of times, and it's pretty.
It's giving
Happy
me like,
pandemic.
yes, that mask is giving me Indian dream meets glory hole meets fetish where I live.
There's a lot to it.
But so we might as well tell the kids who we are. My name is William Bryant Miles, but you can call me WBM. I'm here with the fabulous and incomparable Jamila Lemieux, and this is Wild and Wise. And this is actually a show all about coronavirus fashion, giving
Yes.
you masks, giving you looks, and all of those dreams. I'm going to take this
Loungewear.
off because even though I'm not in Texas, I want to go maskless. I'm just going to raw dog it here. I was just looking up the fact that, like, apparently masks can trigger some TMJ issues, but still, TMJ a lot less worse than coronavirus. So how are you doing today,
What's
Jamila?
TMJ for people that are not aware, William?
TMJ is a medical term. I can't tell you what the whole medical term is, but it's basically issues in your jaw. Lockjaw would be the like pedestrian term. And so I grind my teeth at night. You know, the world is so stressful. I grind my teeth, my jaw can lock up and tense up. Maybe by the end of this show, I'll be able to tell you what TMJ stands for. Maybe not.
I got it too, so find out. I was just going to say, I know it's something with the jaw and the jaw thing.
So now you're making me really look up what TMJ is. So while I'm looking up what TMJ is, how are you doing today, Jay?
I am, well, WBM, I am blessed and highly favored. I am still here. We are still here. It's a sunny day in California. I was just trying to find a link to the show so I could post it on social, which I typically do before the show starts. But to be fair, usually a link is sent to us. I'm like, damn, I got to Google the show to find the link. We are all new to this. Little and subtle love and hazing for our dear Britt Bratt, our producer, who's a baby bison. She went to Howard like we did, but many, many years later. So maybe 4 to 5 years later. So she didn't.
I was like, speak for yourself. She and I were roommates.
Okay.
Because I'm young. I heard a little rumor that we've been tagged in some links. So if you go to our socials, you'll be able to find it. Not before, while we're pulling up all of the facts and figures that we didn't yet prepare for you, i.e. what the TMJ
while we're doing show prep.
We have something for you. So if you've been taking this wonderful ride with us, you know that we start each episode with this segment we like to call At Least We Have. And it's all the things that we're doing to get us through this crazy time. And, you know, just like life, coronavirus or otherwise, has been so challenging and it's always complicated. So at least we have fun things to get us through. This time, since we're celebrating, the category is Happy Anniversary Coronavirus. Since we're celebrating 1 year since we've been in lockdown, we compiled, well, we didn't do it, but the powers that be compiled a fun little video that takes you on the journey of what we've done during this pandemic. So if you guys can go ahead and roll that beautiful bean footage, you guys can see what we've been up to, and we'll have our shit together when we come back.
Britt, that was so cute.
That was festive. That was so
adorable.
First of all, I don't remember your hair being red. When was that? Was that like one night only? That was
It really was. And it was the one night that I took a picture that ended up being on a billboard. So that is the picture that it has been used in a couple of Ciroc campaigns. My hair, I had dyed it. I wanted red. I wanted fire engine red hair very badly. And like the day I achieved it, I took those pictures and I took a good long look at them and I was like, man, nah. And I put something dark on. So I think I dyed it blue to kind of get a deep purple and went black after that. And it's pretty much my natural color now. I cut all, that's crazy. I took that picture last summer and I've cut all the bleach out since then. So
And your
most
hair
of that hair
looks
is gone.
amazing, healthy. I love it. I
Thank
love it. I love it.
you.
It's giving me very much. I love this cut. So, for those who were wondering, TMJ stands for, I'm going to butcher this. I didn't go to medical school, temporomandibular joint, which is this area. And so that actually is just the thing. The medical condition is TMJ dysfunction. So that's what we've been dealing with. It's not contagious, even though we both have it. But, you know, there's that on that. So what I saw in the video, I didn't realize you two were as creative as I was. I mean, I guess I did. I'm over here lying for the show. Like, I didn't know you were as creative as I was. But what inspired you to be creative during this time? Like, what brought that on for you?
Well, we definitely were not nearly as creative as you were. You created so much work, characters, costumes, programs, show. I mean, like, I am in awe of what you were able to do during this time. But I think it was a good productive time for us too. But when you saw us in costume, like, we were just cosplaying to be in the house. Like, there wasn't necessarily like a character, an idea. It was just like, let's put on makeup. And so now we're dealing with an, soon to be 8-year-old who's just like, yeah, I like makeup. And I think this should be a part of my life too. So we got to dial that back. This was a coronavirus exclusive. We were just playing. You don't really go here. You were just visiting. But yeah, I will say, when I look at it, I'm like, I do have a lot of different looks, or my look has changed. Like, I have taken time for that, which is something that you've also done. Like, I know a lot of people, and like, since the thing was coronavirus, I wore a sweatsuit because I've definitely, or a tracksuit because I've definitely worn a lot of, super casual, comfy clothing throughout this time, but I've not let myself fall off. And I don't think you have either. And I don't necessarily just mean that, folks are so hung up on weight gain right now. And I understand that. And I've put on weight and lost it and put it on again and lost some more. And, my goal is to come out at the very least where I started. But we deserve all the grace and mercy for gaining weight during a pandemic. That's easy. But I think when it comes to doing something with your hair, taking care of your skin, right? Like giving yourself a manicure, putting on sweats that match, like putting forth effort into your look. For me, has been a big source of, I think, self-care and normalcy, where I've been able to access so little else that feels like anything I've known before. And so I'd be curious to know, what's that been like for you, especially with you doing all this glam and all these transformations.
So I'm going to give you the whole history of William Bryant Miles in like 30 seconds. I have tremendously sensitive skin, like down to having to get very strong prescription medications to help manage it. So when I started playing in makeup and playing with characters, which was a way for me to like just at first pass the time and then really connect to my creative self, I was like, I refuse to let this disrupt my skin situation. So in addition to the prescription things I was dealing with,
you have fought hard, honey. William had a
no
skincare routine before any of us knew those were, where the best you were getting was a face wash and a clean washcloth.
No, exactly. I've always been
4 steps.
And now I'm up to like, Nick, my friend Nick, he makes fun of me. I'm up to probably like 10 steps at this point, because what I became obsessed with is like, well, shit, I'm going to really find out what works, because I have the bandwidth to just sit in the mirror now and play with hair products. We've learned that some of these things that are taking a lot of money from the girls, trash. And then I've discovered some brands, like I just did my re-up on the skincare product. So I have like all my different serums and oils for the face, and then I have all my different...
You're finally ready to be the gay best friend that people always assumed that you were, right? Because like, you were definitely great too. If we're going to talk about fashion tips, yes, we can call William, but this is also not the person who's going to like come and do your hair and makeup, like that. So now thank you for checking off the stereotypical box, because whenever you're able to come here, I need I was thinking about this. I was like, I'm not going to learn from YouTube. William is going to teach me how to properly beat my face, like really beat my face.
Well, you always know. I think the thing with you is like, how to apply makeup. You just have to make choices about what techniques, like you were wearing makeup and like doing shadows and stuff well before back when the girls were just giving you some
I learned the old math. I learned the old math. It's different now. So I've had to play catch up. I've been working, like a little bit during the pandemic, but one day the way the people wear makeup was completely different. I went from being the girl who wore makeup to, you know what I mean? Like everybody's a
That is
MUX.
true, but a lot of what the girls are doing now, I don't think you need to do. Like they're drawing whole new faces. You know what I'm saying? Like
No.
they're literally starting like me and finishing like you, and being like,
Yeah.
"What? It's just a soft beat." You know what I mean? Like my baby cousin, she's 20 years old, and she's a dance major, and she does a full like her soft beat is like our back in the day full beat. You know what I
Club.
mean? She's like, "I'm just
Club.
going in the stew. Let me just do a little contour. Let me just strobe this out." So, but yes, now I've just become that homo who can give you all the tips. And, he sews, he does lashes. That's the one thing I still cannot do. I've gotten a lot better at it, but I cannot put a lash on
It's
myself
tough.
to save my life. I bought the little apparatus, so we should talk about how we actually kind of observed like the pandemic. You know what I
Yes,
mean?
we
We
should.
were not maybe because we were in the streets so much in our youth that like we had it like stockpile, but like I was in the house, but I would go to the beauty supply,
Yeah.
um, and because you gotta take care of yourself and be in there. But so, what has it been like being stuck in the house? Like, did you ever slip up? Have you always been in the house?
So I wrote about this and published it this afternoon for my blog, jamilalamew.substack.com. About what my pandemic experience has looked like compared to other people, compared to a lot of other people. Or rather, now that we're at the point where we can see an ending, right? Like it's not entirely clear, but it's like this kind of fuzzy thing around the summer and fall, right? Allegedly. Um, and so thinking back on like, okay, I've spent a year giving up nearly everything that brought pleasure and comfort and just structure to my life, from how I work, right? There are the things that were just taken away, right? And a lot of us experience things that were taken
Mm-hmm.
away, either, or that were forced online, right? But when it came time to make decisions about like, what am I going to do? They said, if we socially distance, if we wear masks, if we, don't go to people's houses, if you stay to your, the people that you're in the house with, that you don't go see other people, that we can make this thing go in sooner, right? Like that was made clear to me, that I could lessen my chances of of getting it, and also that I could potentially prevent other people from getting something that could kill them. And so that meant to me that I had to socially distance, and like, to be fair, because I've been trying to analyze, and I think on some level I understand why you and I were better than a lot of people, right? Like I have a child, and not only do I have a child who divides her time in half between my home and her father's home. So I am also responsible on some level for their safety, right? If we're going to continue to have her going back and forth, if I make irresponsible decisions, I'm not just putting her at risk. There's, three other people in the equation. And so there was certainly a lot of pressure that I felt to be good, to not slip up. I can count the number of people that I've like, I wrote it, I literally counted it out, like the number of times that I went to somebody's house unmasked, for, the
Mm-hmm.
number of people who have been in my house without a mask, too. Um, the number of times that like, yeah, like I had sex once in a year, like I was good. I was good. And so it's been hard. It's been really tough. And I think that what I'm trying not to be bitter about, because it's like, it's circumstances, right? These are their, yes, there was incompetency of every level of government, and it's a virus, right? Nobody did this to me, but there is a part of me that's like, we gave up so much, and so many people gave up like so little, right? Like the part that like they stopped where it was stopped for them. So if restaurants are open, they're at restaurant. I've eaten outside once. And that's not to say
Mm-hmm.
that I've been perfect. Like I go to Home Goods and Target too much. I've done outdoor dining one time, but I do a lot of picking up food, right? But I also have worked in restaurants, and as have you. You know the difference between the back of a house for takeout only operation versus the back of a house for an operation when you have people sitting and dining,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so, like, to me, the risk of the people in the kitchen was too great for me to justify sitting in an outdoor situation, even if it was truly outdoors and safe for me. The other people were going to be impacted by me doing that, right? Like, I haven't gotten on a plane, I haven't stayed at a hotel, and like, how do you right now in this moment, as somebody who had a very similar walk, during this pandemic,
Mm-hmm.
in terms of the decisions that you made. How are you feeling toward people? Because I know that's probably changed over the course of a year, toward people that have made different decisions.
So I'm going to answer that in 1 second, but I want to make sure that everybody out there watching, as far as my voice can throw, that we also want to hear from you, right? Like this is, we don't have confetti and balloons and stuff, but it's an anniversary party, if you will. So we want to know how you've been making it through. You can drop us questions wherever you're watching, and we'll be happy to answer them. But to your question, Jamila, how do I feel? It's very complicated because to me, it's kind of like, on the one hand, I can get judgy, right? Like, I think that I can definitely sit on my high horse and be like, and I think especially like in the beginning, some of this stuff became like a game for me to just be like, how long can I stay in the house without leaving? Like, what am I really made from? How long can I go without being on a New York City subway? I now know it's at least a year. I also know
You're
that I'm
gonna have
lucky
to
that I have.
advise me on my part too, by the way. Go on.
Yes, to make sure we stay on topic. I have access to a car, so that it's like I also recognize that I have some privileges that other people are not afforded. So some of this stuff is like a false metric because it's like I haven't been on a train in a year. It's like, no, but you've been in a car zipping and zooming to parks and
Right.
whatever you need to get done. So if you had to leave your house, and I remember early in the pandemic, somebody, I forgot who it was, on my timeline called out. They were like, New York apartments are not made for living. Like when you find an apartment in New York City, nobody really, or most people don't book up, like find an apartment because they're like, oh, this is going to be so comfortable. They're choosing it because it's close to work or close to nightlife or, whatever. Whatever those things are, they're like, yeah, I have 16 roommates, a half a kitchen and a toilet, but it's fine because I'll take my showers at the gym. Like these are real things that people, when they're choosing apartments, and it's not only New York but city living. And so then I'm like, if you had 6 roommates, and one kitchen, I try not to judge you too bad if you're going to a
Right.
restaurant. But then I also know there's some people who are just going to restaurants because they just feel like, oh my God, I just, like
I can.
I can,
Because I can.
exactly. And like, it's my right. And to me, it's just kind of like, I think it just highlighted to me, and it really showed that like we live in a tremendously selfish society. You know what I mean? And none of us is exempt from that. That's just the American way. But it was like really exacerbated or really made clear, I think, in this moment where you can see the people that are like, I don't care, I'll be fine, so let me do me. And those people, like, and people that are like maybe still throwing parties or like doing kind of crazy stuff, I'm like, ooh, girl, note to self, like, because I don't know if we're ever not like, am I ever going to go around somebody unmasked? I don't know. Like now that I know that I can like just become a slight germaphobe, maybe I'll be one. So that's a really long way of saying, what do I think about those other people? A lot of different things. I try to show some grace. But like when I see somebody sitting outside in the snow, which I have seen, like it's actively snowing and someone's eating,
Right.
I'm like, even if you have 20 roommates, that's insane to expect somebody to wait on you in the snow. Like you are the fucking worst person ever.
You're the
You know what I mean?
worst.
Like
You're the worst. You can
there's
go to
just
Grand
no.
Central Station. Like you have, like it's even in a city like New York. If you need to be outside of your home space, like for me, and again, I'm not saying that this does not impact the people who work at Target. Like we're still participating in something, but being in a large department store to get outside of your roommate bubble, you know what I mean? Like allows you to be socially distanced from people in ways that being in a restaurant, particularly, you have to take your mask off at some point. You done blew your coronavirus all over your chicken tenders, and they got to take that plate and wash it. It's just
Mhm.
it.
And
And yeah, I definitely go on. I'm sorry.
when I was going to say, like for me, it's like there are tremendous risks in the store as well. But I think, and maybe this just is highlighting the like not falseness, but how we create our own hierarchy of like right and wrong.
Yep.
But I'm
Safety.
like the idea of somebody having to, because I remember when I was a waiter in DC, and if you don't know, DC summers are like, it's a swamp. It's like
Blazing.
insanely hot and humid to the point that sometimes our restaurant would close the patio because the manager was like, it is too hot to have people out here working, running
Right.
laps, bringing you while you're sitting having a great time getting water every 3 minutes because you're so hot, another water, or
Right.
having cocktails and they're sweating. It's like, if we have to go to the grocery store, if we have to be in these places, that's one thing. Like at least the conditions relative to what's happening around us are not inhumane. But like in a snowstorm, somebody bringing you a cocktail, that is inhumane.
It's
Like
crazy.
and it's insane.
Yeah.
If you just get your food to go and sit on a bench outside, like I think if it's that, if you don't mind sitting in the snow, but why are you dragging everybody else into it? I think
It's the
it's
hot
tacky.
and just in the cold period, like New York is very, very cold. I mean, it gets cold at night here. Like it gets,
Oh
there are
gosh,
nights
it
where I
gets
know.
cold at night in LA. Okay, girl, go off.
I was gonna say last night it was probably only in like the high 40s, low 50, but like I had on like a bubble coat and like a tank top, some
Block.
sweatshirt
Next
hat, and like
topic.
flip
Nobody's
flops.
listening to this. No one's listening to someone in LA
But
talk about how it was so cold. Next topic. Do we
But
have
I
any
was just gonna
questions?
say, I
Let's
could
take a
not
listener
have
letter.
stood. What I could not have done, which is what people in LA are doing, is waiting tables outside. You know what I'm saying? Like I like that weather, even with that relative warmth, compared to a New York, that would not be comfortable weather to be moving around and having to, you know what I'm saying, like to serve
Hmm.
food. And that's what people are having to do in the evenings here. So I can't imagine what that's like in New York, let alone in a snowstorm. And why would you want it? And also, you're not outside anymore. That's the thing. Like here, and I know there are spaces in New York that are big enough to accommodate like true outdoor dining in the sense that, you are actually outdoors and not in a newly created enclosed space that is just located outdoors. But like I've seen, so here we have both. Like there are parking lots, from nicer restaurants to Applebee's where like they've set up tables and stuff because they didn't have outdoor dining before. And then there are places that, have had it and made it bigger. But like I've seen a lot of what you've seen in New York, not as much, but like these little bubbles, where it's like you are
Hmm.
inside. At what point did being outside, inside equal outside?
And so this is my thing is like in those bubbles, it's like, and they don't have filters or any kind of ventilation. So I feel like they're little,
No.
I call them Corona capsules. But we have a question here. As creatives, how have you stayed motivated or dealt with a lack of motivation? You want to take that first?
Sure. It was definitely a very big problem for me at the beginning. Like when I realized that, like, okay, I do have more time to write and more time to create or to, just develop any number of projects or things in my personal or professional life. But I spent a good amount of that early COVID time really struggling to get out of bed. I was deeply depressed.
Mm.
It was scary and upsetting. What helped me is I started meditating and praying a lot. I have gotten into ancestral veneration, and I'll just
What
leave
is
that
that?
there. So,
Okay.
ancestral veneration is communicating with your ancestors.
Okay. I didn't know. It sounded like I heard vagina in there. I don't know why. So I was just so confused.
It's honoring and communicating with your ancestors. And once I had I should say, I strengthened I strengthened my existing spiritual practices and created new ones.
Mhm.
And that is the only reason that I feel like I've come out of that. And I've written more in the past few months than I have in years. But I do, as our next question mentioned, people are talking about this year's a constant mix of feeling overwhelmed and like they're not doing enough. I'm still struggling with that. So on one hand, like now I've got all these creative ideas and a lot more energy, and I'm writing more and I'm creating things, but I've also got so much stuff on my plate, just so much to manage, right? Just I feel like my life is just this long list of all these to-dos, and I can never
Mhm.
get to the end of the day without checking, with and having checked off enough of them. And so I had been feeling for a while, even during this like creative, time, right? Or this heightened time of productivity, that I wasn't doing enough. What I've had to start telling myself, and with moderate success thus far, but I'm still new to saying this. But instead of adding up all the things I didn't do at the end of the day, like I go back and think about all the things that I did, and I congratulate
That's
myself for
it.
them and I celebrate them. Like I celebrate my wins. Like I historically have not celebrated any of my wins, big or small. I typically kind of shrink them. I make them smaller, for any number of reasons. It could be a win that I got the dishes in out of the sink and into the dishwasher, and maybe there's no
Hmm.
dishwashing soap because I didn't feel like going to the store to get some, but they're in the dishwasher, right? If that is the win, I have to mark that as a win. And one other thing I'll add, I got this from a therapy group that I was in. I did a therapy group, which was really helpful a few months ago. the coach instructed us to, we're having moments of stress or overwhelm, to say, what else is true? It's a very simple question. So, like in this moment,
Mhm.
I've got this bill I don't know how to pay, or I've got this assignment I don't know when I'm going to complete. These things in front of me are difficult and complicated. But what else is true? Right? I'm in an apartment where the
Mhm.
rent is paid. I really like it. I love the way that it looks. I have on a comfortable outfit. I mean, any number of big or small things that are good and right and in balance in that moment, I go to them to help me stay focused, so that I don't get consumed by feeling like I'm either not doing enough, or that there's just too much going on around me and I won't be able to catch up. What about you, William?
The thing for me was, as you saw in the video, I started, like I said, I really got in touch with my creative self, and I actually had a lot of time to confront, even on I didn't get into structured therapy or work with a therapist, but I did a lot, just a lot of time with myself. A lot of things that I was running from, like being out in the streets and at parties, is like, ooh, child, you have to, what are you running from? What are the things that you weren't healing? And the biggest thing for me was learning to be present, right? Because I feel like one of my challenges have been that I'm always either in a past moment, which not as much, but more so always trying to be in
In
the
the
next
next
moment
moment.
or 3 steps ahead. And it was like, we literally have no idea what the future is. So let's just focus on what we know to be true right now. And so it'd be like, right now, what I can control. And my mentor, she gave me a tip early on where she was like, use your hands. Like, that is just a great way to like busy yourself in a way that can like feel meaningful. And I started to work on different home projects, and I became, I don't want to say addicted, but I really started to enjoy the feeling of completion. And some days I do a project and I hit it out the park and work on 500 different things, or complete, like start something and complete it in one day. And then other times it'd be like, well, all I did was this. And like for me, I lost a lot of work early in the pandemic. Like, outside of talking to you all on Al Gore's internet, I work with arts and cultural organizations, and so they were hit hard. And most of my clients are presenting organizations of performance-based work. So theaters were closed, so they cut our contracts, some of them completely, or reduced. So there was a period where I literally had nothing to do. And someone had a question here of how do you deal with unstructured time. What was funny is the coronavirus, one of the down things, or one of the many downsides for me, was in my work, I was always a freelancer, so I always worked remotely. I've always maintained my own schedule. It is not unusual in any world for me to play tennis on a Tuesday at 2 o'clock, you know what I mean? Or to be writing on a Saturday at 5 and miss brunch, you know what I mean? Like, so I've been pretty good about that. I think the biggest tip I have with that is, like Jamila said, focusing on, at the end, looking at your to-do list, not so much in terms of what you didn't do, because you'll get overwhelmed, but about what you did do. I don't really know what else to tell folk about, like, discipline. That's just something I've worked on over time. But what I fucking hated is that, like, I've been on conference calls my whole career, right? Like, I always was calling in because I don't have an office. And it was nothing for me to be on a Zoom and not turn my camera on, and no one would ever think twice about it. I call laying in bed my thinking position. That's actually where I've done some of my best work. I'll be strategizing $1 million projects laying down in my bed under the covers, and it grinds my gears now that motherfuckers be like, oh, what's going on, William? Why's your camera not on? And it's like, because I don't have on clothes and I'm under the covers. Luckily my do-rags are sparkly, but I've definitely taken Zooms in do-rags. Like, y'all want this camera, y'all gonna get this do-rag. Not yet a bonnet, almost did a bonnet, but I was like, that's a little too far. But I've definitely done a strategically tied sequence do-rag with the bow tie to the front to make it fashion. So that's as a creative. Now, one thing I do want to talk about, though, that's been really challenging, because in the beginning I was hitting it out the park. I applied for everything out. I'm a writer, as is Jamila, but I've applied for so many different. I wrote a pilot. I already have a screenplay that I'm working on, but I wrote a pilot from scratch. Because I saw a contest for that. I've written plays, all of this stuff. What I'm not used to is rejection in the same spot where you submitted the application. You know what I mean? Like, as a creative, rejection is the name of the game. That's just, there's not a single person in this industry who hasn't. Yeah, and you're going to be rejected more than you're accepted, no matter who you are. Even if you're Beyonce, you're going to be rejected more than you're accepted. What I wasn't ready for was, normally you write the application, you submit it, then you go to hang out with Jamila, you have drinks, you go to someone else's party, you get the rejection notice, you may already be out. And even if you aren't out, you can be like, hey girl, I just didn't get this fellowship. Let's hit the club. Let's go to whatever.
You can
And so much
distract
life has
yourself. You can soothe yourself. You have ways of coping with it that are now taken off the table. You don't have to write the place. You could have written it in a coffee shop, right? And so when you find out that you
exactly.
didn't get it, maybe you're at home, but it's not all connected to this one space, and you having to deal with so much of it by yourself.
And there was a very specific one where I got the rejection in the exact same spot I was in where I wrote the application. And that was just like, and then also the other part is I think it's challenging for creatives who've been working at it for some time. And this is no digs at anybody else, but everybody in the pandemic, right, got in touch with their creative self, which I think is a great thing.
Yeah.
But a lot of projects, some of the rejection letters I got, they were very pointed, like, we like your work, but we got more applications than we ever did. And we just didn't have no space for you this go round, because applications were up. And so that's sometimes frustrating where it's like, ugh, this was supposed to be my year because I've been working and they told me to apply next year. We'll have a space for you. And they're like, oh, girl. But now there's 50-11. But, I'm a firm believer that everything that is for you is for you. So I don't put too much stock in the rejection, but it was a little like, whew, I'm sitting in the same spot. Thank God for wine delivery. Woo Chile. This is a good question that just came in. But go ahead.
That's the hardest part of all of it, right? It's just sitting in the same spot, that there's no break between, even as people who worked from home, we were able to go and work
Mm-hmm.
in other places, right? Like that we did not
Yes.
have to, like, you had a at work, you had a break from that space more often than not, right? And if you'd worked from home and had a bad day, like you said, you can go with your friends and decompress with them. You can go sit in a bar, you can do any number of things that you just can't do right now.
So speaking of friends, someone said it's hard to make friends anytime. How have you maintained or made new relationships this year? I'll go with this first. I'm like a omnivore. I'm extroverted, very much so, but I look at it like I'm really a performer, and I love being on stage. But every performer needs their time in the dressing room before the show starts. So and I've always loved that. I love getting ready and being by myself, and then going out into the world and turning it out. I just wanted to share that about myself. How that connects to this question is that I enjoyed the time by myself, and I'm also I write letters. Like, I actually write people thank you cards and letters. I send text messages, and one thing that I try to hold on to is, if you want to know how someone is doing, ask them, and don't feel embarrassed or like shy about that. So I've just tried to do my best at like wondering how friends are doing, just sending that message. And it doesn't always have to be the grand gesture of the whole letter. Sometimes it simply can be like, are you good? Yes, I am. This is why I brought up being an omnivore, because sometimes I enjoy being in the house, but then sometimes I'd be bored. So I have like calls, and I just call people and talk to them for 3 hours. New relationships, I don't really have much to offer you in that regard. Because what was funny with the new relationships is, before this pandemic hit, I used to be like, as a gay Black man, right? I was online dating before it was trendy. Adam for Adam, shout out to you. Black Planet, Black Gay Chat, we were doing this in the early 2000s. But then what I realized is I was making a lot of pen pals that when I met them in person, it'd be like, we don't have chemistry. What the chemistry was all this time and space where we could create what we thought, either what we thought the other person could be or what we wanted the other person to be. And so I stopped, like, I kind of divested from like making new relationships online. And even if I use online dating, it would be like, this is simply a way to meet. And if we do more than 2 messages, we need to meet in person. So online dating was not a thing for me. I didn't make a lot of new friends. I made a couple new friends. I'm on Clubhouse, et cetera, et cetera. But I'm like, I need to meet folks in person. Jamila, how have you? So I've been really good at maintaining relationships and reconnecting with some old friends. I ain't made no new friends for real, for real. What about you? That's why I ain't fucking. I ain't got no dick. I have a dick, but I ain't had no dick.
It's been interesting. So I've lived a lot of my life online, personally and professionally, in ways that most of my like core group of friends, which I would call William. Really, I have my back home core group, and I have my college New York core group, and William is in that group. I think more than both of those groups of people, the internet has just been a part of my life in a constant way via social media. And so when everybody had to just kind of become a very online person, it happened at a time in my life where I was trying to break my ties from the internet. So the last thing I was like, oh, we got to do Zooms and house parties. Like, part of my commitment to myself was that, and I ran the streets. Like, I hung out as much as, I possibly could, as a person who has a child and a career and is an adult. But like, I still managed to get a lot of online engagement and, even with that very busy schedule and too much at times. And so I wanted to be out and seeing people. I have made a lot of friends and connections with people over the internet that started from the internet first, either romantically or otherwise. At this point, I would prefer to meet people offline strongly, but I have not been able to. So there's been some online dating, which I, think kind of we helped each other pass the time, essentially. No harm, no foul. But I've been intentional about like reconnecting with friends that I had not talked to as much, and in some reasons, I think to some extent because I was getting the daily communication with the world in a way from the internet. I had a place to vent and to share things that was going on with me. There were internet people that I would talk to about certain things, and my actual friends, especially after I left New York, like their daily place in my life had shifted in a way, and I didn't like that. And so this time has allowed me to get back to talking to my nearest and dearest folks more often. But I'm in a weird position because I have to make new friends here. I have to make new friends, period, because I moved across the country, and so when this is over, that's another source of anxiety for me, because it's like, so I have like a weed now layer at the top of my mouth, if it sounds weird. I can hear, you probably can't, but
we can see you. I was wondering what was going on, but not a weed now and later. First of all, now and later is the most awful candy.
It's a gentrified now and later. It's so good. It's by a brand called Kiva, and it looks like a now and later, but
I like Kiva products.
Yeah, so they have a now and later type edible.
Is it stale? Because I felt like maybe it's because I was in the hood, but I felt like now and laters will always kind of stale and crack. They crack. They don't.
Yes. You only could get, like, it was rare that you got a good now and later. A good now and later was good, but a bad now and later could take your teeth out.
Literally, I've definitely had an hour later pull a filling out.
Ugh. But anyway, so
for what? And then don't let it be banana.
Why does that even exist as a flavor? Who goes for bananas like that? Like, banana has such a specific role. It's just not one that was supposed to be reduplicated in a can. Like, ugh. But banana now laters go in the like black licorice, black jelly bean pile of just like, this is so bad. It's not even a candy. It should just be like a vegetable or something. Not a healthy vegetable, like one of the ones that just has like a bunch of like no nutritional value, just like all water, but not good
celery.
Celery. It's celery. So I was lucky that I met two really dope Black women at this event. I know I'm saying Black women because they connected me to this network or this group of other Black LA women with similar interests. And that's been very helpful. And so even though I convened with them once, my one time outside of my home, I went to a little retreat thing last summer in the mountains with some other women. That group has been essential to me.
This
so it's like
one time been a lot of places. I feel like your one time leaving the house has been a lot of places. But is that the one time you left the house? Did you have sex on the retreat too? Was this all? It was all just that one time?
No, look, this is a year. We're talking. I'm the most undisciplined person I've ever.
That's I'm here to fact check. I'm just here to keep you honest.
So what I'm telling you, I didn't say I've been perfect. I'm just saying by the lows, by my own standard, the fact that I can count one trip, one dick. Okay, like that is not me. I was getting on planes and penises a good number of times per month, if not week, in the past.
That's fair. I haven't hopped on a plane or a penis in a year, and I am trying to course correct. So that brings me to the next thing before we got to get out of here, before they cut our screen. Summer 2020. Wait,
are you drinking? Before we go,
I am drinking.
What are you drinking?
I am drinking a red Zinfandel in a very fun glass. And I'm not going to say the brand because I'm not blown away by it. And they didn't cut us a check. But it's fun. The legs are okay. It's easy
Mhm.
drinking. I'm so hungry right now. But I'm not keeled over yet. What are you drinking? Was that kombucha with
It
alcohol in
is,
it?
child. No, it's just regular kombucha. So I just started being able to make myself drink kombucha because like even good kombucha to me always has this kind of like there's a little ketchup in it. It's like you had some juice
Well,
and
it's the
like
vinegar. Like
I know.
that's what it
Yeah,
is.
so
But that one
it
is
tastes
all
like
sugar.
ketchup.
That's a great brand. That's all the kombucha aid. That is all. It's like what 30 grams of sugar in there.
There's only 14
Oh, per bottle or per
per
serving?
bottle, per bottle. 80 calories. It could be better, but look, I'm trying to baby step myself in. I have to make kombucha a part of my life. Then I can get to healthier kombucha
Do
because
you
right
have to make
now,
kombucha part of your life though? Like,
I
there's
need
a
a
way to have a
thing.
healthy life without kombucha.
No, I know, but it's a thing that I can access without a lot of work. Like a lot of other healthy things require you to mix shit, and like kombucha, you can just pick it up.
That's
Like, and I'm
fair.
trying to break my Starbucks morning coffee habit, which I had broken
Mhm.
and then picked back up. So
Oh, I'm deep in a latte habit, but non Starbucks. That's me. That's my way of supporting local business. And I have a place that, you just walk up. You're outside. There is so. But so summer 2021. How turnt do you intend to be? Are you getting vaxxed? If you're getting vaxxed, how are you getting vaxxed? Just a yes or no.
of course.
Okay, me too. So once you have the vax, how like what is this summer? What's the prognosis for this summer? Are you still going to be in the house? You going to be playing it safe? Are we going to make up for lost time? What are we up to?
Nigga, I might get pregnant. This is going to be a wild summer. I'm just kidding. I'm 100% not getting
She's
pregnant.
not
And if
kidding.
I do, I'm 100% not keeping it. But I plan on
Hot
having a
vax summer.
safe, hot back summer. Hot
All
back
the hot
summer.
vax make it pop, pop, pop. Well, let me
Because
stop it.
this
They
is the
can't hear
thing.
this.
This was supposed to be my 2020. I had named it and I was trying to claim it, William. 2020, I was going to meet him. 2021, we were getting in a relationship. We were getting engaged in 2022, married in 2023. I was going to, also have a baby that year. Like I had a
We can still
whole,
get on track for that though.
but I know. But now I'm thinking about this hot girl summer, and
Yeah,
I
you
mean,
meet him at the top of the
I'm
summer
gonna
while
meet
you
him at
still
the
hoe,
summer, and I'm
and
gonna
you still
keep
hoeing while
going.
y'all
Right?
dating, and then
There's
yeah,
no
I
such
think
thing
we
as a
can
hoe.
still keep.
If there's no such
Well,
thing as a hoe, you cannot break any. You cannot. I can't break a
I didn't
rule I
say
didn't
you were
make.
going to be a hoe. I think that'll be a whole other episode. What hoe can we bring on to talk about if there's hoes or not? But I think even if there is no such thing as a hoe, there is such a thing as hoeing.
See, I disagree because I think hoeing implies that there is an appropriate amount of sex that you should or should not have. And we have no standard. I think that's what it is. Because like one person could be like, girl, I fucked 4 guys this year. I was such a hoe. And somebody else could be like, girl, I fucked 4 guys this week. I was such a hoe. And somebody was like, girl, I fucked 4 guys today. I was such a hoe. And the other person could be like, I fucked 4 guys this morning. What's for lunch? You know what I mean? Like that there's no value judgment or any sort of, I think it's the lack of a universal, like what makes it, like I get it. We could call it whole shit. Like it's fun, it's cute. But for me, deep inside, I'm like, there's no such thing.
Well, we're gonna put that to one side. That's a whole
Yeah.
episode unto itself. If you guys have some hoes or non-hoes that you think would be great for us to talk about, drop it in the comment. Whether you're watching live or not, we'd love to know whether or not you think hoeing is a thing and who we can get to talk to us about or talk with about hoeing. That was
What
actually
do
what
you
my
have
journal
think?
med well, that was my journal meditation was like, so are you going to hold this summer or nah? You know what I mean? The Splash is closed, so that ship has sailed. Some other places are probably still open, but Splash, for those who don't know, was a New York City gay nightclub. So many stories. That's the episode
Yeah.
unto itself. Maybe get the owners
Yeah.
of there to come and talk about that.
The oral history of
Um,
Splash. The oral history of
right.
Splash.
An oral history of Splash, pun intended. An
Yes.
oral history of Splash. Um, I think no matter what, this summer is going to be unhinged. Like especially in New York City, right? It's going to be like the city's broke. They barely pick up my trash. Like you know what I mean. The police are not it. Like
I'm
it's just
shaking with excitement. I'm gonna get on the damn American Airlines app right now. Start pricing New York tickets.
and
Don't
no,
kill
it's
me.
gonna be wild. And I feel like the thing that I'm also excited about is like I think every open space in the city is gonna be turned into either performance or gathering space. So it's gonna be like what we had lost a lot of, like those Soul Summit kind of events and
Yes.
Sunday sermon. I think they're gonna be happening everywhere. And like if you're vaccinated, you'll feel safe, and hopefully people will still be masked, and like we're not gonna be completely irresponsible. But like whereas last year any kind of gathering in public felt kind of dangerous. That I don't know if I'm gonna eat in a restaurant anytime soon, but yeah, I'm looking forward to that. It seems like our time together, at least tonight on this show, has wound down. This is the point of the show that we're supposed to talk about a little known fact. Did you know? Do you have your did you know fact, or is it like the rest of the show where nobody was prepared?
Did you know? Well, damn. See, I could have thought. I'm usually so good at coming up with this stuff on my feet because there have definitely been times with mom and dad are fighting where I don't remember to prepare a triumph or a fail or a recommendation. I have to just write them in there. Um, did I know about coronavirus? Nope, I did not. I just can't pull it together now.
Well, my did you know was actually supposed to be tied to my original. At least we still have, so I'm not going to throw that away.
Okay.
I'm not going to give you guys that. But did you know that the vaccine is not going to kill you, and that you actually look real dumb if you say you're not going to get the vaccine? To me, that's my did you know. And if the vaccine is going to
Okay.
kill you, we do know that coronavirus can kill you. We don't know that the vaccine can kill you. So that's my propaganda for today. You want to revise your position, Jamila?
Yes. Did you know all these white folks is getting the vaccine? So if it was out here designed to kill black people, they've done a very, very bad job of creating a plan in which that would happen because they set up a system in which other people could go get it. So I don't think that the specially targeted vaccines that were meant to take out the color folks that were sent to all of our neighborhoods were terribly effective, considering that people came from every other neighborhood to access those vaccines. But also, to be fair, I do. Well, no, never mind. Because I was going to say, I know that there's been a lot of talk about how many of us don't believe it. And there are many of us that are, that understand how vaccines work, that are willing to take a risk on a vaccine that is relatively untested by the sort of standards that one would normally be created if it were not in response to something that's happening in real time. Um, but I do have people in my life that are refusing the vaccine. So I'm just going to double down on that point and say that if this were some diabolical plot against us or against anyone, it's not a very wise one. It sure looks to me like they just want to get Americans back to work because this country is a big store and most of us are away from our registers and they like to get get the
Back to
rest of us
work.
back to work.
And I'd want y'all back in the office so I can turn my camera back off. But yeah. And black people historically we're anti-clinical trial. We're not anti-vaccine. Like know your
Right.
history, honey. We don't do clinical trials, but we'll do
Right.
the vaccine. Give me a
We'll do
tetanus
vaccines.
shot. Booster me up. Rabies down, honey. And so that's it. I think that this is the end of our show. This was Wild and Wise. My name is William Bryant Miles. You can call me WBM, and I'm here with the incomparable, the fabulous Jamila Lemieux. We'll catch you not next Wednesday, but the Wednesday after that with another show. We thank you all for tuning in. Please stay safe. Choose joy. Bye.